Hi friends, I welcome you all for this session. It is a well-known fact that evaluating fetal cardiac function is one of the more challenging parts of fetal medicine. To make it simple and easy to practice, we have started this series of systematic evaluation of cardiac function. This is part 1, where we will go through various morphometric measurements of fetal heart. And I hope by the end of this series, you will all feel confident enough to bring this measurement of cardiac function into your daily practice. Here is an overview of what we will be covering in this video, along with all the references this content is drawn from. I would recommend you to go through these papers yourself for deeper understanding. Having laid the foundation here, you should find them much easier to follow. Now let us see, why do we need to measure the various structures in fetal heart? This is because in case of any injury, the heart undergoes change in size, shape or function, which is also known as cardiovascular remodeling. When we perform a comprehensive fetal cardiac functional assessment, there are 3 broad parameters that we evaluate in addition to standard anatomical screening. The first step is fetal cardiac morphology, that is the morphometric evaluation of fetal heart. And this step will pick up the structural changes like cardiomegaly or myocardial hypertrophy, which are often the earliest signs of cardiac remodeling in a stressed fetus. Second step is the assessment of valvular function. Here we will be looking at atrioventricular valves and semilunar valves. We will be assessing the diameter, flow patterns, and also will be checking for presence or absence of regurgitation. The third step would be to look for cardiac contractility, that is how well the heart is actually pumping. So together these 3 steps will make us move from purely anatomical view of fetal heart to a functional one. Under cardiac morphology, we look at 3 things. First is the size, in which we measure cardiothoracic area ratio and atrial and ventricular cavity dimensions. The second will be to assess the shape of the fetal heart, which will be done by using globular sphericity index. The third step will be to assess the wall thickness pattern, determining whether it is concentric or eccentric hypertrophy, which then will tell us about the type of remodeling. Although for some parameters that we are going to discuss, there may be multiple methods available, I am going to focus only on common and widely used techniques, as my goal is to keep it simple and time efficient. One more important point to be noted is that all these measurements are taken at the end diastole, with one exception, that is the atrial measurements, which are measured at their maximum extension during the ventricular systole. Now let us see what is the time of cardiac cycle when we should measure the atria or ventricle. For that, you have to reduce the speed of the fetal heart cycle, and then you have to use the senile lobe to move to and fro to find out the exact part of ventricular systole and ventricular diastole. Now if you see here, the valve is about to open. So before that, if you see, this is atria, both the atria are in fullest diameter. This is the time when you should measure the atria, and you can see that the ventricle is contracting and ventricular systole. And next, to measure the ventricle, it should be in diastole. If you see here, now the diameters of the atria has decreased and ventricle is in full diameter, that is the ventricular diastole period. And only for measuring atria, ventricular systole period is used for all the rest of the parameters measurements. We use this part which is the ventricular diastole, where you get the fullest diameter of the ventricle. Now let's move on to the measurement of cardiothoracic area. This is done using a 2D image in which we could see the thorax transverse section, which includes two lungs on the other side and heart in the center. To ensure the symmetry of the section, we should make sure that you see the ribs as equal length on the either side of the thorax. That will ensure that you are not taking any oblique cut. Then the next step would be to measure the thoracic area using ellipse method. You have to make sure that you leave out the subdermal tissues, that is the skin line has to be excluded. It can be seen well with this line diagram where the skin is excluded and the ellipse is drawn along the external margin of the ribs, along the posterior side of the spine and extending anteriorly along the chest wall. The next ellipse would be to measure the area of the heart, and it has to run along the epicardial borders and along the superior edge of the atrial septum. It has to go around the cardiac surface. Now comes the important pitfall. What happens if there is a pericardial effusion? Do you trace along the pericardium or along the epicardium? The answer is you need to exclude the pericardial effusion, and the ellipse caliper should be placed along the epicardial surface of the heart. So the cardiothoracic area ratio is calculated by dividing cardiac area by thoracic area. We know that the fetal heart occupies about 1/3 of the thorax, with the remaining 2/3 occupied by both lungs together. So therefore, a cardiothoracic ratio of 0.35 is considered normal according to the literature, and above 0.35 is abnormal, suggestive of cardiomegaly, and if it is more than 0.5 it is considered severely abnormal ratio. This article gives us the gestation age based reference ranges extending from 5th to 95th centile curves for cardiothoracic ratio, as well as atrial and ventricular to heart ratios between 18 to 41 weeks. Now let's move on to the measurement of Cardiac Sphericity Index. It can either be taken in apical or basal force chamber view. The most important point is that it should be measured at the end of diastole, because only at the end of ventricular diastole the diameter of the ventricles will be maximum. The longitudinal diameter has to be taken from the apex of the heart along the interventricular septum to the posterior border of the right atrium. The transverse diameter is drawn at the midpoint of the longitudinal diameter, extending from the epicardium of the left ventricle to the right ventricle. The ratio between the longitudinal diameter and the transverse diameter will give us the cardiac sphericity index. Now in this slide we can see the reference chart for cardiac sphericity index varying according to the gestational age. When the cardiac sphericity index decreases, it indicates that the heart is becoming more spherical or more globular in shape. This can be secondary to pressure or volume overload. And when there is increased sphericity index, it indicates that the heart is in elongated shape. This can be because of decrease in the preload or the volume. Now let us move on to the measurement of atrial diameters. It is best measured when the ventricle is in systole, so that the atrium reaches its maximum diameter we should also make sure that the atrioventricular valves are closed. The first step would be to draw a transverse line along the annulus, which will be slightly above the closure of the valve. And from there, draw a line at the midpoint to the most posterior part of the atrium. You should not include the pulmonary veins. It should be at the most posterior part of the atrium. The transverse line should be along the midpoint of this longitudinal line from the inner aspect of the outer atrial wall to the most superior point, to the inner side of the most superior point of the atrial septum. On the same apical or basal 4-chamber view, at the end of ventricular systole, the atrial area is measured by making manual tracing each atrium on the 2D image, taking care to exclude the pulmonary veins and the atrioventricular annulus. Now this will help us in detecting any disproportion between the two sides of the fetal heart. Now let us move on to the measurement of the ventricular diameter. In the same apical or basal 4-chamber view, at the end of diastole, when you see the maximum diameter of the ventricles, and make sure that the atrioventricular valves are closed, and at this plane we should see around 3 diameters we should measure. First, draw this line at the level of the annulus, transverse line extending from the inner line of the myocardium or endocardium to the septum primum, inner side of the septum primum on both sides. This is the basal ventricle diameter, and the next one will be at the midpoint, that is the mid-transverse diameter from the inner side of the myocardium to the inner side of the intraventricular septum. And the longitudinal diameter will be from the midpoint of this basal diameter to the apex of the heart. Remember to exclude any papillary muscle or moderator band. Now to calculate the ventricular area, we can use the same image, and then we can measure the area by manual tracing along the inner border of the myocardium, including all the moderator band and papillary muscle. My advice would be to retain the same picture where you have drawn to the diameter, so that it will be easy to trace along the basal diameter, which is above the along the annulus and above the closure of the AV valve. So it will be easy if we retain this and join these points for the manual tracing. For measuring myocardial wall thickness, we use the transverse 4-chamber view and also M mode. The key technical point is that we should zoom in the fetal heart so that it occupies as much as possible in the screen. Make sure that the 4-chamber heart is in exact transverse view so that the oblique view will give erroneous result, and we should also make sure that there is no fetal movements at the time when we are doing this evaluation, because fetal movement will also distort the wall thickness. With the transverse 4-chamber view zoomed to fill the screen and the fetus being quiet, we now place the M mode cursor along the midline, that is through the mid-transverse portion of the heart, so that it cuts perpendicularly across the ventricular walls and the septum, giving us the accurate measurement of the wall thickness. Now this is our example case of around 20 weeks 6 days, where the M mode cursor is placed along the middle of the transverse view of the 4-chamber, and it is zoomed in to the maximum extent possible, so that you are seeing adequate separation between the lateral ventricular wall and the interventricular septum, so that the measurement of the thickness is easy. Suppose if you find any echogenic clutter on M mode here, this area or either this area, one of the important trick to avoid that is increase the contrast and decrease the gain so that you will cut out any interference from the papillary muscle motion. And in that case, if you are able to record it, then maybe you will have echogenic clutter in this area. So to avoid that, as I said, increase the contrast and decrease the gain. Once all these measurements are taken, it is important for us to calculate the centile and z-score for each of these parameter. There are commonly available platforms, online platforms or online calculators to calculate the z-score and the centile for each of the cardiac parameters. That brings us to the end of cardiac morphology assessment. In the next video, we will move on to the step 2 assessment of valvular function. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please subscribe and share to your friends.